If you grew up like I did, marking the birthdays of almost every U.S. president, you'd know that the last one of the year, December 28th, was the man Augusta claims, Woodrow Wilson. Today, Wilson's boyhood home at 419 7th Street in Augusta has been restored and is open to visitors. It is a National Historic Landmark. Augustans are always proud to point out that the Virginia-born 28th president lived here longer, about 13 years, than any other place in his life. His father was pastor of First Presbyterian, and the little boy known as Tommy lived on 7th Street during and after the Civil War. Wilson has often been ranked among the most effective of U.S. presidents, much of that based on his intellectual reputation, political idealism, and successful leadership of the country through the First World War. The presidents who followed Wilson often cited him as a role model. Franklin Roosevelt, for example, ranked Wilson with Teddy Roosevelt as moral leaders, each in his own way and his own time, who used the presidency as a pulpit. Big praise for a little boy who grew up in Augusta, went on to become a lawyer, president of Princeton University, governor of New Jersey, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, and who served 2 terms in the White House. Many would not have expected that from a young boy who played second base on his neighborhood baseball team, or who didn't really learn how to read until age 11. His father, the Presbyterian preacher, gave him his best advice, Wilson often said. When you frame a sentence, don't do it as if you're loading a shotgun, but as if you're loading a rifle. Shoot with a single bullet and hit one thing alone. Although he didn't come back to Augusta all that much after he left town, Wilson admitted it stayed with him. A boy never gets over his boyhood, he once said, and can never change those subtle influences which have become part of him, that were bred in him when he was a child. Was he perfect? No. Lately, many at his old school, Princeton University, have found him lacking in the Civil Rights Department and have asked that his status at the school he once led be diminished. That's their prerogative, I guess. But Wilson's life, like many throughout history, reflects differently in the mirror of the moment. Let me make the case, this most uncommon of men was perhaps the most unpolitical of presidents. Consider that in 2 years and 170 days, he rose from a citizen who had never held public office to President of the United States. He did that by defeating 2 former presidents, Teddy Roosevelt, later memorialized on Mount Rushmore, and William Howard Taft, who many thought was as big as Mount Rushmore. He led the country through the subtle intrigues and power plays of the First World War. He appointed the first Jew to the Supreme Court, Louis Brandeis. He appointed a woman as a sub-cabinet member when he named Annette Abbott Adams as Assistant Attorney General in 1920. And reporters will always remember Wilson because he held the first presidential press conference March 15, 1913. A century ago, Woodrow Wilson pushed this country farther than it perhaps wanted to go. That's what good leaders do. Could he have done more? Of course, but so could you and I.